Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
I'm Matt Hansen.
I'm John Johnson.
So this one, we're doing our wrap-up of Black History Month, which was really, really fun. Got to read a bunch of different kinds of comics.
Yeah, a lot of things that I would not have, like I wouldn't have probably gone out and searched, but like now seeing these, like, oh wow, like we got some really good comics in that I didn't know anything about, and now I really like.
Yeah, like different, and also like different characters. Like you were even saying this one, which is Genius that we read this time, that you were like, I want to keep reading this anyway.
Yeah, like it was such a good comic. I look forward to pick it up. The next, I guess this one is called Genius, and then the next run is Genius Cartel.
Yeah, it's Cartel, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so this one we read is, like I said, it's called Genius, and it's by the co-host of the comic book podcast Fat Man on Batman.
Yeah, it's Fat Man Beyond.
Oh, I'm sorry, Fat Man Beyond. So, well, you know what? I've been listening to that podcast since like episode 20.
Yeah.
So before Marc Bernardin was on it. But yeah, I always liked Marc Bernardin on that show, and he always did a really, like, whenever he talks about like, I think this movie should have been like this, or I think, you know, this would be a cool take on something. It's always like, yeah, I want to see that movie, not the one I just watched or whatever, the thing they fucked up or whatever. It's whatever he's talking about. It always sounds really cool. So I thought, okay, like he had mentioned, you know, he has a comic named Genius. Didn't know what it was. It was from Top Cow, which is like I don't know the best way to describe Top Cow. They're in this, you know, they're like in the top 10 comic book company creative companies, like along with like kind of Dynamite. They're like in that category, like Dynamite and Top Cow, and they have some books that are like really well regarded, like Rising Stars is one, and this one is gonna, you know, definitely going to be up there, you know, hopefully sometime. I don't know how many people know about this one. I hadn't heard about it, but other than from Marc Bernardin himself. But I should definitely be on there as far as like the best ones. I know they've had some other hits like Witchblade. They do Witchblade, some of those kind of comics, but they're known for the more kind of cheesecake-ish, like that means busty ladies usually, or you know, kind of those kind of books more than anything. At least from what I've seen, I could be wrong. There's just like same with Dynamite. Dynamite has other things than that, but then they also do like, you know, that kind of stuff too. So it's whatever sells, and they know if I put a cover of a lady, you know, it's called Witchblade, but the lady's in like a skin tight metal costume, and it's like, okay, I don't know how metal forms like that, but whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so that's what this is released under, Top Cow, and like I said, it's by Marc Bernardin and Adam Freeman. I don't know Adam Freeman. I haven't read any other of his stuff, I don't think.
Same here.
But then from artist Afua, I believe, if I say that wrong, I'm sorry.
Afua or Afua? I'm not.
Yeah, not sure. Richardson. And so yeah, that first off, this comic, the writing was like fantastic.
Yeah.
So good for Mark and Adam on that one. Those are like amazing. I don't know if both of them wrote it. Maybe there's a collaborative team, or someone wrote more than the other, or they worked on it with each other. Not sure. But and then what do you think of the art?
I thought that was cool. It definitely felt. I couldn't tell if it was all like digitally drawn.
It's definitely all digitally
drawn. Okay, yeah. But it looked really cool, and especially like the action sequences.
Yes,
like they were really beautiful.
I thought,
really
I thought
tight.
I thought the action sequences were like really, really well done, and then but some of the like we're just standing around and talking just look kind of like, huh, like something about it just like wasn't always like, maybe it was like the backgrounds weren't as detailed or something or whatnot, but like, you know, overall though the art was really good. Like it portrayed everything it needed to. It kind of set you in the time and the, you know, and everything, because I mean this takes place I don't know when was this written. I think it's like maybe in 2011 or 10. Let's see, what's the 2015. So it's fairly recent book, I guess. But yeah, this is like, in my mind, this seems like it would be taking place in like around the Rodney King riots or something.
Yeah.
Because it takes place in South Central LA, and it's about like the gangs in those areas. Like, it's about a leader taking control of those gangs and then leading them to battle against the LAPD. So it's like super. I mean, this is kind of why I did this book last, because the first book we did was Nat Turner, and it's like that guy was the leader, got a bunch of people to rise up and go, attack and fight the slave masters. And this book is about a leader who rises up, takes control, and gets people in the neighborhoods and everything to. Actually, it's only like a 6-block radius, but yeah, to rise up and fight their oppressors, who are the police in this case. And so this book does not pull any punches.
That's literally, those were my first words too. Yeah. Like literally the first panel.
The first panel of this book is a cop getting shot, a black cop getting shot. I don't know if that has any significance specifically, but a black cop getting shot in the neck. Very bloody. And we should say this comic is rated 17 plus, so it's like for mature audiences only. There's not like explicit nudity in it, I don't think.
No, there's definitely like the cover of this one was definitely too
yes,
sell.
the cover of the trade, which is kind of Top Cow, trying to sell a book, is the main character D in caution tape. Just over all of the. That's all she's wearing is caution tape, and so it's a little suggestive, but it's not really that sexual of a comic.
No,
it's more violent, like graphic violence against police specifically. So that's why, and not only police, National Guard. It's pretty. Like I said, the revolution gets fairly far for what you would think. So, yeah, the premise of this comic, from what I read about, or like what Marc Bernardin said, and then also what I read in like the thesis or whatever, is so every generation or every like era has had its like general, like its leader is our military tactician leader, like we had Patton and like MacArthur in World War II, and then we had like Napoleon, and we had Alexander the Great, and I'm throwing this in, but like Genghis Khan, and like those like people who could lead millions of people to battle and conquer large areas, and that was a thing, and we're in civilized society now, so that doesn't come up as often as you would think, right? Or that's why it's not coming up as often, or we don't think about stuff like that as much. But those people were still born, and so this is like that person was born. It is a person named D, or Destiny, is her full name, D for short, and she is like 4 steps ahead of everybody. Like she's like an ultimate tactician. She's super smart. And she was born in South Central LA. So with what she's given and what she knows, she takes war to the people who are harming her and her people. Yeah. So like we said, that's the police. So if you're a cop, or it's a little probably sensitive to some certain demographics. So just so you know. But I mean, I think the idea is like, and this is like a pretty, I want to say libertarian kind of feel to this book, because it's like, shouldn't you be able to rise up on people, the government, who is literally keeping you down by force or whatever, you know what I mean? And especially like systemic racism and stuff like that. So the idea that, we have guns too, and that's why you should be afraid, is something it's kind of poignant nowadays, right? Like,
yeah,
like if you're talking about an uprising, or you think the government's evil, well, you can't do anything if you don't have access to guns about that. So that's the idea. Like in this they're all affiliated with gangs. All the people in this group, so they have access to illegal weapons, more so than the average California citizen. So because they have like fully automatic and sniper rifles and C4 and shit like that. So they don't have a problem getting their weapons. But yeah, so basically it's that idea of there's a tactician and she's going to take ultimate war to the police in LA right now. So the first issue is like a prelude. It starts off, like we said, with that. It shows the cop getting shot in the neck. There's 3 cops being like, drop your gun, drop the gun. And they swear a lot in this comic too, just so you know. But we said it was 17 plus, so no kid should be reading this one.
Definitely not.
Unless I don't know. I'd give this to like a really mature 15-year-old or something or someone in high school. I'd be like, this is a badass comic. But not without their parents' approval. but yeah, so like drop the gun and they just see like this little small, like I like the way they draw Dee. She's like small person. But like that's what you're supposed to be like.
She's a shorter girl, not necessarily.
I don't mean like a little person, like, but I mean like she's shorter.
Like 5'4" or something.
She's slim. She's got like a thin build or whatever. So, yeah, and then but she like. So they're kind of like not expecting this from a small woman, and so but they're like, get on the ground, drop your weapons, and then a sniper out of nowhere shoots the other 2 in the head, and then wounds the second one in the knee, or the third one in the knee, and then this is how she talks to the cops. This is like the second panel on the page. This is now you listen here, bitch. Like basically you go back and you tell them like we're here for war, and like if they're gonna come back here they're gonna get fucked up. And she's talking to the police, the Los Angeles police. So that lets you know.
Yeah, this is her area now.
Yeah, what's going on. And then it cuts to the police station, and like this hasn't got to the police station yet, what just happened. But there's a guy, what was his name? The main, I can't remember his name.
He's a detective for sure.
Yeah, he's a detective, and he basically has
11 years worth of data.
Yeah, he's been tracking this, I guess, conspiracy theory he's had for a while, which is like that he's gotten more built up and more built up over like the last couple of years about the people being attacked in this gang violence and stuff aren't gangs anymore. It's always been. Like, the gangs have been eerily silent with each other, but they're, like, attacking here and there against police or against certain targets or whatever. Like a military, tactician would be.
Guerrilla style.
Yeah, like guerrilla style. So, he's got this file. It says Suspect 0 on it, and he doesn't know, but it's about D. So.
But he's the only one that believes in it. Like some of their police officers kind of joke with them, like, "Oh, you're still running after that, ghost or whatever, that fake."
Yeah, like you're crazy. And so basically, what just happened in that prelude was, or in that earlier scene was, Dee basically just declared war on the police. Like, she shot a cop. She killed 3 cops and shot 1 in the leg, and shot him in the leg to be like, "Go tell your people to come get us if they want, but they ain't getting in this neighborhood." So then she like goes back to her neighborhood and gives like a rousing, like a "this is Sparta," kind of speech.
Yeah, she's like, "Don't call 911, you call me."
Yeah,
like I am in control now. Like we're declaring basically martial law in this neighborhood area.
Yeah, and so then you have like people in the police station start hearing about what just happened. And they're like, what? And so then they're like going to send police down there. And the guy who's been coming up with, everything, the conspiracy theory, he's like, what the fuck is his name? I'm like, now I want to know. It's Detective.
It was interesting because he like part of his like research, he said there was like 3,500 cases of gang violence, felonies, homicides, and whatnot. And that like, they were all like in and out basically between that and police, and he was like he was seeing it too. Like there's only one outcome that's coming of this is like basically war.
Right. Yeah, and they've been like 35,000 reported cases of violence, but like it seems like it's random, not random. Everything's planned. Everything's like I said, it's a tactician like making these moves. And and then you get to see it cuts back to the neighborhood, and that's why I was saying like it shows Dee kind of way smaller than everybody. Like she's like compared to some of the men that are in this gang army that she's created. She's like, I'd say maybe they're like 6 foot something, maybe 6'2" or whatever. She's like 5 foot. So she looks really small on the page compared to them, but she's like fucking bitch. Like some guys like, what if I don't want to do what you want? And then she like headbutts him, like pistol whips him, and she's like, anybody else got a problem? Like, so
yeah, it reminded me of Kill Bill, like she ran when it like takes over the different
Yakuza and stuff. Yeah. Yes, it was very much like
you bitches have a problem.
Yeah,
it was cool.
It was pretty much exactly like that. It was just, just like she's taken over, and that's that. And you don't know really, like at this point in the book, you don't know that she's like a genius. I mean, the book's called Genius, but you don't know why it's called Genius until this next panel where she's like, it shows her as a kid, like she like starts kind of what's it called? They do like a fade to back to the past, and so like it shows her like saying like, oh, I've always been really good at like strategizing and stuff. So it shows her like watching kids play football or like soccer or something, and they like, I think it's football. Yeah, it's football. And she's like, it shows like the X's and O's, like she's fucking John Madden, like drawing on the screen and like how they should play and all that stuff. So she's like has a natural ability to pick up what's going on and how to strategize on like any kind of stuff like that. So then cops start showing up, and specifically like a SWAT team and a big group of cops, like maybe 4 police cars show up, but they've been planning on all this. So like they have people blocked off the streets and all that, and then this was cool, referencing that scene back when she was a little kid. She sees like all the cops, and there's like XO, go around with like a line, and it's, like she's doing the Don Mattingly on how they're going to defeat this group that came in. So this was like the cops they weren't bringing full force. They're just bringing like another little bit bigger force than the 4 cops that were there, probably like 15 cops or something this time, because they brought a SWAT car and 3 cop cars. So not the full force of the LAPD, but big enough they think to take down some gang members or whatever. And one of the things that was fucked up is they just mow everybody down.
Yeah, they set an explosion under the SWAT van, and it blows up the van.
That's crazy. They literally when they give C4 to a guy with rollerblades, and he rollerblades over to it, and he throws it underneath, and then that's how they get it. So they have like kind of like, she does it like kind of like cavalry or whatever, like that's, or cavalry. The rollerblade guys rolling like if they're the cavalry on horses, and do mayhem or whatever kind of thing. So she's like definitely understands like what's going on.
Oh yeah, one of the things I like that she said that she read a book when she was younger about Bobby Fischer and how he could like see moves ahead of the opponent. She's like, I guess I could do that too.
Yeah.
Let me learn this chess game. Or
and like here's what the detective, I can't remember his name, haven't found it yet. What he says about like this person, he doesn't think it's her. He always says like because he's like assuming wrongly that only a man can be a genius general or whatever, a tactician. But he says every generation has one, Lou. Hannibal, Alexander, Washington, Patton. We just might be dealing with the greatest military mind of our time, a goddamn genius. So, so yeah, like that's what he's telling that to his superior, and his superior ain't really buying it right now.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the end of the prelude. Is they blow up that SWAT team while the cops are still they haven't quite figured out everything yet, and only that one guy has. And yeah, so that's the only, like, no one else in the police force will believe him. So the second issue, we see like, oh, you get not only police casualties, but people on the gang side are going to die. And apparently they didn't think they were going to, because they were all mad about that.
Yeah.
But the first page of the second issue is, one of the mothers holding on to one of the kids that was fighting with Destiny, and she's like, no, and then people are like, what the fuck, that kid died, and it's like, yeah, we're at war.
Yeah, people are gonna die.
Yeah, that's the other thing that was interesting about this comic is she's like, it's not just about like the neighborhood and like these people. It's literally like, I'm a general thinking of this like it's war. And if my guys have to die to get them to die more, to get the other people to die more, I'm okay to do that. Like that is how I'm thinking of this. It's not like I just want people to be okay kind of thing. So, yeah. So then the cop that was from the station, like he starts getting his superior on his team about this idea he's got. He gives him all the information. He writes it all out on the board, like just like, here's a string here and a string here and a string and all these things tied together. And
and partially we should say how Destiny kind of knows how everything's going on in the neighborhood. She has
I forgot about that.
Her an old high school friend who's also kind of super techie smart. His name that he goes by now is G-Tron, and he has like cameras set up all over the neighborhood, and they have like one centralized kind of thing where he's watching it all and helping her plan things.
I like to think of him kind of like in Die Hard, that their tech guy who's like, oh, the cavalry is here, like, ding dong, it is time for the show, like, like whatever he says, he's just got all these like quippy things he says on her like intercom or whatever. And so
that's like, I was just saying she throughout the thing she keeps calling by his high school name. He's like, my name's G-Tron now.
Yeah. What's his real name? It's like Gerald or something.
Like, it was like Gerald or something.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, I'm G-Tron. But yeah, that's how they know what the cops are doing. So the cops roll up. Now they realize, okay, this is something bigger. Not everybody's on board with it, but the captain is now like, yes. God damn, I still don't know his name. Well, I'll read it in one of these things. But he's like, yes, you can go on this mission and try to like see what's going on down in South Central. So he lets the detective go
with another SWAT group.
With a SWAT group, yeah. And they're talking in the car, and he's like, these people are gonna fucking die. Like, they're like, why do we even need to deal with this? It's just some like, gangsters or whatever. Like, we'll take all these people on. We got it, no problem. And he says something. He says, the bravado accomplishes one of two goals: pumps up the weak or shows the fear of the strong. For their sake, I hope my suspect zero theory is wrong. If not, they're all dead. Like, that's what he's thinking as he hears them talking. Oh yeah, we're gonna take them on. We're gonna beat them or whatever.
For us, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then it kind of like cuts back to 1993 Los Angeles, and you see how Destiny grew up. You see her family.
Yeah.
And like, you find out what happened, which was her parents got killed by the police.
Yeah, in front of her.
In front of her. We don't know why, but they were. And then you see it kind of goes back to her being good in school, but her having to pretend to be dumb, I guess, or like fit in. So she'll fit in with like the other people in her neighborhood and stuff. So it shows her like getting the right answer and circling, like it shows her on the test. It's like, which of the following countries was not an Axis power? And she circled Germany. It was like Germany, Japan, Italy, or Portugal. So she could, and it shows her like erase Portugal and circle Germany. So it's like, she's like pretending to be dumb or dumbing herself down for other people, just so she can fit in and or be under like low key under everything. And then it shows her like meeting G-Tron. His name is Gerald. In the like the computer lab when she was a kid, and the thing is like, she sees him and it shows her like thinking like chess pieces kind of thing, and so you're like, she's just setting up like from now, like how she can take over, like do this revolution, like from 12 years old or whatever, or 10 years old, she's been thinking about this. So then you kind of like, it cuts back to her talking to G-Tron, and they just see like everything going on. Like they see all the weaponry. There's like a whole bag of C4 they still have. They have all this shit, all these weapons, but then like everybody's partying right now, kind of like in celebration of they just beat those couple guys. So she's like, oh, that's okay, because we're going to celebrate before we fight again, kind of thing. But then you find out the backstory of her.
Yeah, and that was really cool. I like that. Like, basically, she stayed under the radar and got in with, it looked like she had a boyfriend that was, like, part of a gang.
Yeah.
And then, like, looked like he kind of rose up in rank, and she was learning how, like, the gangs functioned and how they, like, were against each other and, like strengths and weaknesses of them. And then seeing how he kind of started to bring some of them together. I don't know. I couldn't tell if she was whispering in his ear about it.
I think what happened, I think the idea was like so the gangs are fighting. She got him once he was high enough to like we should all meet and like talk about this. Maybe like put like a temporary stop to this feud or whatever. And then like they meet in this warehouse. And like they all start fighting immediately, kind of thing, because each person thinks they're badass or whatever and want to fight with the other one. And then she just straight up fucking like, does she kill her man? Doesn't she? No, she stands up on the car. Or no, there's a car in the middle. Yeah. He was on the car talking to them. Then she stands up because they started like, man, fuck you or whatever. She jumps on the car and is like, no, fuck you. And then she punches one of them in the face, pulls out a gun, and shoots like all the heads of the other gangs. And then is like, that's what it's about. Like,
you're all going to
and shoots her boyfriend in the head. So like, not just the other gang, she shoots her boyfriend in the head too. So it's like, I'm the head of this thing now. So like everybody else has to deal with that shit. And he even said like she used her like looks to get in with him, obviously, like at first, but like she this whole time she's been like strategizing about what to do and whatnot. So yeah, like the second it cuts back to the SWAT team, they're pulling up. The second they pull up, that fucking van like explodes. So it's like they were ready for them before they even were thinking about it. And then I thought it was cool that the police have their helicopters, out, and they just like got little, they weren't drones, because I don't know, they were like little helicopter, what are they called? Remote control helicopters. But not drones like the ones that have cameras and stuff, but they had C4 on them.
Yeah.
And they just like went to the helicopters and blew up. So they blew up all the helicopters. And in the meantime, the only person that survived that, there's two people that survived that explosion. One SWAT guy and one detective. And so, his name's Gray. That's his damn name. Okay, Detective Gray. So, sorry. I was like,
that was by. It's okay. I
looking through my notes trying to find Gray. Couldn't find it. So, so Gray and him. Like the SWAT guys, come on, follow me, Gray. And he like bursts into a house, and it's like someone's fucking house they just like burst into, and it's like a mom and her two kids, and they're like both like, she's hugging them, and they're both like crying, and they're like, don't worry, or like at first they're like, kiss the fucking carpet, motherfuckers, like get down on the ground, And then the cops like, cooperate. Like, what's the address here? And she's like, 248 or 24841 fuck you street. Like they don't give a fuck at all. But then the kid starts being like, man, Destiny's gonna fuck you up. And at first they're like Destiny, that's a weird thing for a kid to say. Like, what do you mean Destiny's gonna fuck us up or whatever? And then he says, like, we make our own destiny, son. Like, we don't need, destiny isn't what we have to do. And then it turns out the kid says, like, you're lucky Destiny doesn't come over and kick your ass. And then he realized he's talking about a person, and he's like, wait, who's Destiny? Who's this person? So yeah, like,
and he's like, shut up.
Yeah, the fucking kid is like giving up the info on D, and the mom's like, stop talking. So then yeah, the kid stops talking, but they're still trapped in the house. And basically, like, there's a reporter.
There's also a news reporter. Yeah. Like, they had a news helicopter come, and it started to try to get like some of the what's going on too. And the news reporter is like, "Oh, this is gonna be a crazy story." And so she like,
I guess that was cool. Yeah, the guy's like, I'm not getting closer. She's like, get fucking closer. Like, I want to get into this. He's like, no way. And she's like, fine, you fucking pussy. And like, she jumps out of the helicopter with the camera in like a garbage bag.
Yeah.
And then like, so she lands in a pool, and then she gets out and she starts like walking around trying to get film on all.
Yeah,
of
it. She takes off some of her like nicer clothing and like tries to like make it look like she fits in a little more. And
yeah, and then she like fits in, but she also looks more scantily clad. So
yeah,
then like some guys are like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, am I all wet? Like, like she's all wet from the pool. So like they're like, oh, hey, how's it going? So then they like let her like be with them, and she's like, I want to talk to who's in charge. So then they're like, okay, we'll take you to D.
Sure.
Yeah, no problem. Scantily clad woman. So yeah, like then you see the Detective Gray. He's in the house, but it's still getting shot at. He gets out eventually, and he's like, now he knows Destiny is there. Like,
yeah, someone named Destiny is running this. Like, he knew that there was something going on that he was right about.
Yeah, and so the police are showing up more and more now. So he when he escapes from the house, he took the guy that he went in there with, the SWAT guy. He got shot in the face, and so he took that guy's uniform and like his vest and his hat, and so Detective Gray actually gets caught, inside the lines or whatever. And the cops don't know if he's a cop or not. They're like, freeze, hold up. And he's like, oh, it's me, guys. Like, okay. So he gets pulled back, and now he knows, and he can tell everybody, okay, we're looking for someone named Destiny. We don't know who, blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, all the gangsters are getting shot up. All the cops are getting shot. They're all fighting each other in like a firefight. And the cops are like, advance, like, why aren't you going forward? And they're like, we fucking can't. Like, this is like real tactics like that are being used on us, like military stuff. And then they do like a giant, like everybody starts retreating, like all the gangsters. And they're like, quick, we got them. They're running away. And they start advancing on every front. And then Detective Gray hears they're advancing on every front. And he's like, yeah. He's like, pull them back. And then when he does, there's boom. Just like blows up the whole, everything that everybody was there. Yeah. So like, that's like how that bigger battle ends, I guess, is them. Now they're like, shit, it's not like, now we're probably gonna have to call like the guard and the National Guard or whatever.
This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, and and then it cuts back to her growing up still, and she's younger than she was when she was in the gangs, but this is how she got initiated into the gangs, and this was like super fucked up by that.
Oh yeah.
So it shows a kid being like, hey, if you want to be a Crip, you gotta spill some blood, and I'm assuming. I didn't put this together when I first read this, but he says, you got to bleed a fool. And I'm like, okay, he's talking. You just got to shoot someone in general. But then when she shoots him, you see that his tattoo says "Blood's" on his back. So she walks into like a 7-Eleven. Or no, this
No,
is
it's
like
a Burger King.
Burger King or something. It says a Burger Hut. So she walks in and she just like pulls out a gun and shoots this dude right in the chest. And that's how she became, in the gangs. She killed the Blood. And then, so she's, at the end of the last one is where they realize they're losing a lot of casualties in the gangs. So now all the gang members are mad that like, why are our people dying? It's like, motherfucker, you knew this was a war.
Yeah,
I said the word war. Like, people die in wars beyond the bad guys or our enemies or whatever. So, like, that shit happens.
And they're like, you got to know the difference between soldiers and pawns. And she's like, well, you guys better fucking put up and shut up because I'm in charge here.
Yeah. So in the meantime, the reporter that she was there when like the blast happened and the big boom that happened. And so, like, it's the next day, kind of, because everybody's kind of like, we don't know where to go from here. That was all probably during the middle of the night anyway. So it's like maybe the sun's come up finally. Yeah. So it's like that was all early morning, and now it's just morning. And so the reporter, still having her camera, like gets to meet Dee, and she's like, "Look, I want to like interview you, and I'll like not cut anything, and I'll make it seem like I'll like give you actual like free airtime or whatever." So she does that. And
she while she's doing that, Dee tells some of the other gang members like, "Okay, you need to go out and get any other guys we got. Like go out and
that's right.
like recruiting or whatever." And so she sends some of the guys out.
Yeah.
And we find out as they go out that they are actually some of the gang members are undercover cops.
Yeah. So they're like trying to figure out like overthrow. Yeah, like it shows them. At first I was like, wait, what's going on? Like they run into cops and at first they like, what you got, cabron? And then he's like they're talking to each other or whatever. And I'm like, oh, like they're friends or some shit. Then it cuts to Detective Gray. He's back at the police station and he's looking at all his papers that are all his documentation for that he's had on his conspiracy theory. And he realizes that he was the cop that was at the scene after her parents got shot. He was at Destiny's house, like to try to like smooth it over or whatever, or like be there after the fact and get evidence and stuff. And he's like, I could have stopped it then.
Yeah,
like I could have.
Oh my God!
If I had just like helped this kid get out of, and not maybe her parents should have been killed in the first place too. But even if they were, maybe we should have taken this kid and given her something more than just living in South Central or whatever, because that's what she ended up being. So he's like, this is my fault. And so you find out with the guys that are undercover, they break in, they're trying to find Dee, or they break into like where Dee was and they're trying to find her, and they just go and start shooting people in the neighborhood that were like out partying and stuff because they're trying to get her to come out. And so then Dee's like, what the fuck? Like, I thought these guys were on my team, but they're not. And so they're still looking for her while she's trying to find them now. So they're going all over shooting people. She's trying to find them. She finds them, and he's like, what are you gonna do? Kill me like in cold blood or whatever? And she's like, yeah. And she just fucking shoots him in the head, just kills him. And then, but she finds out that they actually killed G-Tron.
Yeah,
so like
she's trying to call him and being like, "Hey, I need eyes on such and such."
Yeah, and I got him. Don't worry. Yeah. He hasn't been answering for like while she's looking for these guys. The undercover cops. She was like, "Where are you? Like, I need the eyes on them." And she wasn't getting an answer. He's like, "Man, fuck." He's probably like going to the bathroom or whatever. And no, he was dead. They killed him.
Yeah.
So that's like the time you see her kind of break a little bit, but then it just makes her more mad or whatever. Like makes her like, okay, phase 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Now she's like, fuck it. We're moving into this. And so I guess she worked out a plan with her like, I guess, closest confidant that she had too. Mm-hmm. She had a friend, was it Cheyenne or, but basically like she, or maybe Sibion. There was a B in there too. I forgot. Well, basically, they move the Detron's body, and they're like, "You're gonna watch this now for now." And like, she takes a shower, puts on like a power suit, and then
like a straight up power suit. With shoulder pads and everything.
And then somehow she gets out
and heels
and walks and goes to the police department and walks straight into the police department.
Yeah, and it says like it's all about like acting like you belong. Like if you put on a good act, you put on a suit, you blend in. You don't look like a gangbanger. Now you're wearing high heels and, you look like a detective. People just assume you're a detective kind of thing. So she walks in the police department and she's like, I need...
There's a woman there's like another woman in front of her, and like they have like a little like haha moment about something, and then that woman goes away, and so she's like talks to the front desk and is like, I'm from internal affairs.
Yeah. Yeah, and no one wants to fuck with internal affairs because then you're going to get in trouble or whatever. So she's like, I want to know what's going on, what happened today and everything. And so she's talking to Detective Gray, and Detective Gray breaks down his whole thing. Like, here's what I think. And he like tells her everything. And then, she's like, okay, well, call me if you find anything else. Yeah. And then she walks out, and then he like thinks about the picture he saw of her as like a kid. He's like, wait a second, that cut on her hand.
And that was cool because her internal monologue the entire time, like he's going over it. She's like, "Oh shit!" Like,
yeah, this guy knows everything. Yeah, yeah. And so like he's like, "Oh my god, she was right here!" And like he tries to run out, but she's already gone. She like takes a police bike and rides back, and now the military's on its way.
Yeah,
like
she finds out the National Guard's coming.
That's what she found out was, okay, the National Guard is actually coming to help us because the police haven't been able to keep control of everything. So she's like trying to block on her way back. The tanks are rolling like on the freeway, to which I was like, it's morning in LA or like afternoon.
You're thinking traffic.
I'm like, how they would just be rolling over everybody's car, because there's no way that those freeways would be empty enough for tanks to roll by. But yeah, so like she basically gets like a bus to block them. She like takes over the bus. It was like, fucking move it. Like, I got a bomb, and if anyone gets off of this thing, they'll die. And then she didn't have a bomb or anything, but she just wanted no one to leave the thing, so the tanks couldn't drive through the bus. So it was like, you can't drive through the bus because there's people on it, and she had it block the street. So kind of gave her like a little bit of time. So she rolls up, and she's like, okay, this is it. This is like, they're here. This is like the big bads.
It's funny because at first they're like, whoa, and they're like, oh, damn, you clean up good. It's like Tyler Perry shit.
Yeah, because she looked just like a businesswoman or like a detective. Yeah. So, so like now, they're like prepared for the National Guard to come. Tanks start showing up. They start blowing up treads. She pulls out a 50 millimeter, machine gun and just starts fucking like just blowing apart all this stuff. And she knows.
Oh yeah, she's like,
she knows now, like, this isn't gonna end well for all of us. She already knew like how far can this go before the government really shuts it down. Like, we're just 150 people or whatever, or maybe even less than that. And like, even with a good tactician or strategist, you're not going to be able to beat all of those people in that area. So, she knows it's impossible, but she's just like, okay, I'm going to do what I can, and then we're going to run. I'm going to run. So you just see her running. You don't know quite what she's thinking, but then she like goes back to the police headquarters with like a bomb strapped to her chest.
She goes like under the sewers.
Yeah. She has like a way out. Yeah. I was like, I wonder.
She like knows the city plan and everything. It was cool.
Yeah. She like knows the whole underground and everything. So she comes to the police station. She's like, I got a bomb. I'm going to blow this shit up unless, I want to call out the violence. Like, all my friends go free.
Yeah. She's like, I could run this shit from prison. So we need a ceasefire, amnesty for all my people.
Yeah.
You can just take me.
Like, from the mob that people can run organizations from, against the police and all that shit.
Yeah. Think about the promotions you'll get if you take me in alive.
Yeah.
Like, she was.
Yeah.
She was on it.
So she made a good point. And then, so basically she got like amnesty for all her friends that were, or like all her neighborhood people, so they don't get put in prison.
Oh, but before, like, that's what the other woman that was there, she was like, I guess another higher up detective with the, I guess
she's not a detective. It seems like she was some kind of government agency.
Yeah, she was like, take the deal.
It says she's from the Madrasa Institute, which must be like some like, you know,
secret society.
Yeah, secret, not secret society, but like secret training, you know, place for NSA or something, or like CIA kind of shit. So she's like, she pulls out her badge. She's like, hold on. She like, the police are like, that's too high for me. I can't make a deal like that. And then the lady opens her badge. She's like, I can. I'm from the Madrasa Institute.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, she's like on the
like instantly.
Like, yeah, on behalf of the United States government, we accept these terms.
Yeah. So it was funny. She was like, she drops what you thought was the switch to blow up. She's like, man, this much Play-Doh is heavy.
Yeah, this Play-Doh's heavy.
And it turned out, although the stuff in her vest was not C4, it was just Play-Doh and an electric razor.
And she had like a Nintendo controller.
Oh, was that a Wii? Oh, that's what it was. It was supposed to be a Wii because it said VII on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's supposed to be a Nintendo. Who she wrote? Ninvendo V is what it was called. A little nunchuck.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they take her into custody, but and then they take her into custody. Oh, one of the cool things I forgot to say this was when she was when they were attacking. You know, of course, the media usually would be on the cop's side, but because Dee did the interviews and stuff, and she actually used YouTube and put out all these videos right as all this stuff was going on, that was showing like kids getting shot and all this stuff about, like, they were telling their stories about how their parents were killed or all that stuff. And so it was being released by this neighborhood, this group of people, about how horrible they've had it. So like it turned the community against the cops. And then when she got like taken by the Madrasa Institute, right after that, her interview with the lady aired, with the reporter.
Yeah.
And so like everybody got to see like all the stuff that, you know, she was talking about and everything.
Yeah, it was cool because she said that, like, the question was like, why isn't this happening all around? This is what's happening there. And she's like, well, it is going to happen. She's like, it's a ticking time bomb in some of these areas. People are not going to go with this forever. So,
right. Like eventually it's going to happen. And this is why I was like Nat Turner, like, like this shit is a good, you know, end cap to the thing we started out with Nat Turner, because it's like a revolution, but nowadays kind of thing. This is really, really, really cool book. But yeah, I like the idea that they used our social media against the police, because if you turn the people against the cops and the media, then you've won the largest battle probably, which is, you know, public opinion of everything. Yeah. So if everybody is like vying for the people in this neighborhood, then the cops can't really, they got their hands tied. So, and that's probably why the Madrasa Institute heard about it, you know, because of all this national coverage on YouTube and shit from the media. So yeah, then it shows her like in some castle in the middle of somewhere, kind of like, you know, Professor X castle or whatever. And she's getting taught. It shows her like looking at a teacher, and it's like Operation Overlord, codename D-Day. So she's learning all this tactician, you know, how they planned all these battles and everything.
Oh, basically, yeah. Like we realize how valuable and smart you are. We're gonna teach you. You're gonna work for us. And then she's secretly like, oh, I'm gonna learn all of this stuff and really bring about change.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I really, really, really like this book. It was just, I mean, it was like a holy shit book. Like a lot of the stuff they did, and you're like, Jesus Christ, you know. But
yeah, every time, like that's with even all the fighting, like it never was the same. Like they kept upping the stakes, upping the ante.
Yeah, it never got boring or anything.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fighting, a lot of gun violence and everything. But it was like, oh no, like this time, it's not just 3 cops, it's 10 cops, and they have to come at it a different way, or then they mix it up with the undercover agents and things like that. So, yeah. And then I really liked like the use of nowadays technology for public opinion, and just the idea overall was really well executed. And I mean, just like every other idea Marc Bernardin has, I always want to see it fleshed out, and this was like actual fleshed out one. So,
Yeah.
I really like that. So, anything else you want to hit on it?
Not particularly. Just like I said, I liked it so much that I was like, "What is this story do?" So I was looking that up. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is the next one. I'm gonna figure out when I'm gonna read that because I really liked it. I want to see where it goes."
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think I was saying, we mentioned the art, and sometimes it was like better than other times. And I think what I saw, there was like, I think this was part of a Top Cow, maybe not a contest, but like a thing they were doing called like the pilot season, where they would release one issue, which was the prelude in this run. And the first issue, so that one's like the least paid for, right? Because it's like, you got to make us the best, basically a pilot episode of a TV show, right? For as cheap as possible. And then if it sells the most or whatever, then we'll put it out as a regular series. And this one won, which I think is why the pilot or the prelude issue looks a little bit different as far as art style than the rest of it. So, but it's still all good. I mean, everything conveyed everything correctly. It was just like simpler backgrounds or stuff like that, like less detail or whatnot. But I don't know. What would you give this one, John?
I liked it a lot, man. I honestly, like I said, I want to read more. I want to dive more into the story. I want to see where they're going to take this. So I would this would probably be a 9 for me.
Oh, 9? Nice. I'm going to give this one a 7 because it's like solid. Like it's just a good, solid book. I do want to read more of it and see where it goes. But I really liked everything about it. This is a good one.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. And that wraps up our Black History Month podcast.
Yeah, these were all fantastic reads and kind of got a look at different areas of past and present things that are going on, really important subjects, really important things to that we need to talk about more and think about.
Well, especially you think this was written in 2015, so this was like right when like Black Lives Matter and a lot of that stuff was happening. So this was like a really poignant book that I don't know got out enough. Like it should have had a little bit more. It
seems like this would be extremely well known with all the everything that's been going on,
or should be at least.
Yeah. So I mean, and nobody, I'm sure that when they're writing this, nobody condones violence, and we don't condone any of the violence. This stuff, kind of stuff, is stuff that is happening, and it's stuff that we need to have more conversation on. And
once again, this is the place to explore those ideas.
Yeah,
not, like okay, maybe if you read this book and stuff changes, then we don't have to have what's in this book. You know what I mean? Like the reason why Nat Turner happened is because it was not going to change without someone physically changing it. But if you read Nat Turner or you write Genius and you read it, and people read it and see like, oh, this is an issue, then you can change things that might stop bloodshed from happening or stop people from suffering. So I mean, this was like a good fun idea for the month, because also like these are all properties I probably wouldn't have. Well, Nat Turner I probably would have read with you at some time, but the other ones I would not have like researched and looked and found. Like like Blink I wouldn't have found for sure. And also that made me want to read the rest of Legends of Batman or Legends of the Dark Knight, because that whole series sounds really cool. Like just one-off storylines about cool things. That just sounds awesome. So I put all that on my wish list on Comixology, every issue of that series. So I'm not gonna buy them each as I go, but yeah, just stuff like that. I found that out because of Blink, and then reading Static. Now I want to read more Milestone
Yeah, exactly.
books.
Like now I want to read more Static Shock. Like never a character. Like again, saw the cartoon as a kid, but then after reading, it was like, oh wow, this is a really fun character. Like I want to see more of this too.
Yeah. So I mean, this was really good and really fun. And then I probably would have picked it up maybe sometime if Marc Bernardin mentioned it enough. Be like, oh yeah, I got to check that out. But like the pitch of it wasn't enough to just push me to get it to read right away. So it was only when we were like, hey, let's do black creators writing, their own characters, that I was like, oh, I know Marc Bernardin wrote a thing, so until you like get that push to do something, you don't always find some gems, So it was nice to kind of go outside the normal superheroes or whatnot, and even the normal stuff that I read, which isn't only superheroes, but it's not to this wide of type of books.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, cool. Because we talked about like when we were thinking about doing some of this, like, oh, what should we do? And we're like, well, there's well-known characters, like there's cyborgs out there. There's John Stewart, Green Lantern, and there's some well-known ones, but like there's more of a history and culture and a real underrated and maybe underappreciated that
right.
we can like search out and maybe shed some light on. And this was fun. I really enjoyed doing this.
Right, and I liked reading McDuffie's personal projects and then McDuffie's Batman. Like it was cool to read both and compare the writing styles. Like okay, I'm writing Batman now, so I'm not doing the same kind of jokey stuff that is in Static or whatnot.
Yeah,
and just seeing how good of a storyteller he is. He can write for anything and it'll be amazing. Like it'll just be like good, solid, fun storytelling is awesome. So I mean, I like, and hopefully people that read this got introduced to Dwayne McDuffie and Kyle Baker and Marc Bernardin, and they get to look more into Milestone and things that people don't know that much about because, for whatever reasons, Milestone's not a household name as far as my household or as most of the people that I know about. They might know, even if you're like a big comic book person, you're like, I remember Milestone briefly in the 90s. Static, I know that, but I don't know everything, about what happened. And, I definitely haven't read all those runs. So I really hope they kind of figure out what happened with Milestone as far as them coming
hopefully
back.
all the right stuff gets
rights gets figured out so that I can read some of that stuff in trade form or, on Comixology or whatever.
Yeah, because you want to appreciate the medium, and if
Yeah.
you don't want to like search out stuff that and have to like go on eBay and buy an expensive copy, because also like the artists and the creators and or
right,
their
you want
relatives,
them to get money for it.
they're the ones who made this amazing stuff for us to take part in.
Yeah, they should get paid for it. I shouldn't have to find some website that's just posting it in like a line down the page or whatever.
Yeah.
to read Static. So, although I appreciate that person that did that, so we could actually read it. But now, I will go out of my way to go find. Maybe I will go on eBay, or maybe I'll go to Austin Books or something and go through the back issues. Maybe they have Milestone comics in that. So, that's actually something I'm planning on doing just because I really, really, really liked Static. So I'm like, I want to go back and try to find old Milestone stuff.
Heck yeah, man.
So yeah, well, I guess that's it for Black History Month this year and this episode.
Another great episode.
Yep. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.